relevant is brand awareness. So one, if the customer doesn't know you exist, how can they buy from you? So it's Patric. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody, what's going on?
Yeah, welcome to Marketing Mondays 98. We're closing in on it.
Closing in on it, man. We are closing in on it.
Yes,
I'm excited. We got to do something special for the 100th episode. I think we got to do something a little bit out of the ordinary.
Agreed. As we were just talking about before, we'll have a meeting hopefully this week. We can throw that in that discussion as well and figure out exactly what we want to do. Because we want to make sure that we do something special for all of you. Everybody who watches here live and watches all of the videos on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. We definitely appreciate everybody who's been watching and posting comments and leaving us questions. It's what we love to do, and we're glad to help you guys out.
Yep. I got to figure out something with my lighting. I notice every week when I'm on with you, like it's not this way when I'm at my main computer in the office, like as far as like a Zoom, but my face looks like I was out in the sun. I promise you, I have not been just out in the sun and my face is red. It's just the lighting. I mean, I don't know what it is, but anyway.
That's all right. I've got this glare over here. I wish I had a board up. So obviously we have production issues we need to work on and figure out. Yeah. And go from there. We'll get you a powder person to take care of you.
Exactly. Take care of all that.
So today is April 15th. It's tax day. I hope everybody had everything submitted and processed, and hopefully it's all taken care of. Obviously, it's usually a stressful time of year for a lot of people. I think taxes can be one of those things that's can cause anxiety, and you push it off, you procrastinate, and then it's always a mad dash at the end to kind of get it taken care of. So I think I just wanted to touch on a couple of things today with it being tax day and kind of some ideas or kind of pick your brain of what you would do on either side of tax day. Let's start off with all of a sudden you have a few extra dollars and you want to put it towards your marketing fund. What would be some ideas that you would do if you're all of a sudden flush with $1,000 or $2 and can put it towards whether it's a promotional campaign, email marketing, some sort of video content or production to hire somebody out? What kind of things are you thinking about when that comes about?
Well, I think first off, what I would say is even if you get some extra money in, whether it's from taxes or something else, you should be relying back on an overall marketing strategy that you've put together or that you've talked about with your team or somebody you're working with on marketing. And maybe these extra dollars can allow you to fuel that in a way that you weren't able to before. I don't think it's wise to just say, hey, now that I have an extra couple $1,000s, I'm just going to throw it at this. I think you need to step back and make sure it's well thought out and that you get the best benefit you can out of those couple $1,000s. What I would say is, at this time of the year, a lot of your customers, like our clients' customers, have discretionary income. So it is a good time of the year to run some advertising because people do have some extra money to spend that they weren't expecting or that they hadn't budgeted into their regular money. So if you are going to run advertising, now is a decent time to run advertising because the chance that somebody's got money to spend on your products or services is a little bit greater than it might be at other times of the year. That being said, you still want to be very tactical about that and make sure it's fitting in your overall strategy and not just knee-jerking something out there just because you think you need to do something. So I would say, it's a good time of the year to advertise. Also be aware, though, that a lot of other people think about the same thing we're talking about right now. So typically advertising, especially when you're talking about Google or Meta, might be a little bit more expensive right now because the cost of those is associated with how many people are advertising. So when a lot of people are advertising, your cost per click or your CPM, whatever measurement you want to use, is going to be a little bit higher because there's more people advertising. So be aware that while it's a good time to advertise, you may have to actually spend a little bit more to get the results that you want at this time of the year. So let's say that you're already doing advertising. You may want to boost your budget a little bit to get the same results, because if you keep your budget the same, your results may actually go down because other people are jumping into the market. So maybe if you've already got a strategy going, you can use some of those tax dollars to just boost your budget so you can continue to get the same results you are when it's not tax season and other people. So long-winded way of saying, I just think you always want to spend your dollars very proactively and very thoughtfully. You never want to just say, okay, I got $1,000 to throw at something and do that. Have a strategy that you want to follow. And then as you get extra budget available, utilize that to follow the strategy you've already determined. Don't just do something that you hadn't even thought about because you have an extra $1,000 to spend.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it on the head as far as what I was kind of hoping you would go for. And it was kind of avoiding those knee-jerk reactions of saying, I need to promote this post or I need to do this, because typically, if you're doing one of those knee-jerk reactions, you're just hitting the button saying, I want to post this. You're not getting the best bang for your buck. You're probably, obviously, like you said, right now with it this time of year, pricing is probably up a little bit higher. You're just probably not getting the audience that you want to go towards.
Yep.
I think with any type of influx of marketing dollars, or say like if you get all of a sudden a few extra jobs and you're kind of flush with money for a little bit, figuring out different ways that already are a part of your marketing strategy. So whether it's you already have Google ads running, and understand that if you're all of a sudden going to throw money at an ad, that might only be for a week or a month. Like if you're figuring out like, I want to increase my ad spend every day on Google AdWords, maybe a little bit, and then kind of try to maintain that for 2 or 3 months because you have this extra money. Yep. I think those are the kind of things to think about versus just throwing it at one ad that you think is really good, or just kind of doing a one-off type deal. Like, make sure it's a part of your overall strategy, I think is just super key to everything that's going to make sure that you're going to be successful.
And just the other thing too, you mentioned Google. Typically, if you want to run a short-term ad and you want to just try to get some reaction based on a short-term thing, that's more of a meta play, i.e. Instagram, Facebook. Typically with Google, by the time you build an ad and it goes through its learning phase and things like that, you're already going to be 3, 5, 6, 7 days into the learning phase. So Google is not a mechanism to utilize for running, hey, we're going to run a promotion for tax day. So it's typically more for longer foundational type marketing that you want to have on search engines and or Google Maps, things like that. But if you're running a campaign that's foundational and say you're running it at $20 a day and you're getting really good response, but you now have another $1,000 in your budget for marketing, it might be something where you say over the next 60 days, 1,000 divided by 60, I'm going to increase my budget by that many dollars a day to get even better results over the next 60 days. That would be if somebody came to me and said, hey, I got $1,000 to spend. I would probably direct them into things like that more than I would like, hey, let's do a one-off X and, thing type.
So now I kind of want to look on the other side, which might not be the best in terms of being a marketing company, but let's say all of a sudden you kind of, you have to pay some taxes this year. So you're down a little bit. What are some ways to get creative? Because I feel like a lot of times people think about, all right, if I have to cut money, it's coming out of, obviously I can't cut my inventory or my payroll. I might have to cut some marketing expenses or other things like that. What are some ways to get creative or things for people to think about when they're kind of posed with that situation where, all right, there might need to be some cuts, or what can I think about as far as the money that I'm spending on different items?
Sure. Well, first of all, and I'm certainly no accountant, so I'm going to get that right off the bat, because we're not giving accounting advice as far as that goes. But make sure that if you own a business, that you're taking all the deductions that are due to you. Often there's things that you may not even be aware of that you could be taking. So if you owe for taxes, make sure that you haven't left money on the table by not taking deductions that may be due to you, that maybe minimize that amount owed. So assuming that you've done everything you can to minimize your, that so that you can, you're not paying taxes that you shouldn't. If you end up with a tax bill that you weren't expecting, I would say, a couple different things you can look at. From a standpoint of saving some money, there are certain things that you can't really do anything about. Your foundational things, your rent, your utilities, your things like that. Anything that would be directly involved in your business. I mean, you need to continue to run your business. So materials, things like that. But there probably are some different things. I think, as it relates to marketing, if you need to cut some expenses, that's the time to really knuckle down, get with your marketing person, or if you do it yourself, really sit down with the analytics and say, what exactly is working? And not only what is working best. So let's say that I'm spending $2,000 a month in marketing, but this one thing I'm doing over here is producing twice the results of this, but we've been continuing to keep both of them running because both of them are producing results. Well, maybe now is the time to drop the thing that's producing half the results and just go all in on the thing that's producing the most results until you're at a point where maybe you can add that back into the budget. So you definitely want to understand what in your marketing strategy is working and what is not, and cut from the areas that are to use, a marketing term that, ROI, return on investment, cut the items that have the lowest ROI. So doesn't mean they're not beneficial, doesn't mean they're not working, but you need to have a way to evaluate what's working best and rank that on the way down and start cutting from the things that are at the bottom. Because what you don't want to do is just willy-nilly go in and start cutting and maybe cut from the thing that's working the best for you. If you cut from the thing that's working the best, you're actually hurting your business a lot more than cutting from the things at the bottom. So what I would say is have a way to understand what's working in your marketing and then begin cutting from the things that are working in the least. And again, that doesn't mean they're not working at all. It just means they're not, dollar for dollar, they're not working as well as the thing up above. And obviously, like I said, look at some other, you don't want to cut anything that's the lifeblood of your business. I happen to think when business is a little bit tight, it might be the time where you actually need to spend money on marketing. A lot of times people think I got to cut something, let me cut marketing. But that's actually one of the things that's keeping the lifeblood of your business coming in. So I would look at, hey, can I curtail my entertainment expenses? Could I curtail some travel expenses, things like that, and continue to keep my marketing going? Again, I'm not saying that as a marketing guy that's trying to tell you to keep spending money on marketing. I'm just saying if your marketing is working to bring business in, that might be the very thing that you don't want to cut from, because if things are a little bit tighter, you don't want to take money from something that's bringing more business in for you.
No, I think those are all really good points. When you sit down and think about it, when things are slow, you want to find new customers. And I think how does that usually happen? It's going to more than likely be through a marketing effort in some sort of way, whether it's you're out going door to door, doing flyers on door hangs and stuff like that. So it's all determined of what you're willing to kind of do. And
it doesn't even have, it doesn't even have to be, if you're an automotive shop, say doing window tinting, it doesn't even have to be spending money on Google or Facebook. I mean, find the least expensive way to print a flyer, print 500 flyers and go to your local shopping centers and stick flyers under windshield wipers. I mean, get old school with it, go ghetto and guerrilla marketing with it, because for the cost of printing out 500 flyers, I mean, my guess is if you sold one tint job, you've recouped the cost of printing 500 flyers, and hopefully you do. I mean, and obviously you can be tactical about it. If somebody's already got tint, don't put the flyer on their vehicle. They've already got tint, but you go out there, spend an hour and a half putting flyers under somebody's windshield, that could lead to 50 jobs. It's hard to say, but I mean, my point is, we're getting ready to go into the warmer months. It's a good time to talk to people about tinting. If you don't have the budget or you need to cut from the budget, maybe stop running Facebook or Google ads if you have to, but don't give up on marketing completely. Just figure out a way you can do marketing, a little bit more, just a little bit more of the guerrilla marketing end of it. And, even, gathering, if you're running a great CRM like TintWiz or something like that, downloading your email list from there and maybe sending an email saying, hey, we wanted to give you, tell you that we're doing a special promotion, referral, whatever. Try to get some money from that. It doesn't cost you anything to send an email other than your time, and it could actually bring business. So if you are short on cash, it doesn't mean stop marketing. It means you just have to get a little bit more innovative with it. You got to get a little bit more old school and just get after it, maybe.
Yep. No, I think those are the ideas I was hoping to churn up within you, was just get creative and kind of think about different things. Kind of shifting gears. So this weekend I went and visited one of our clients at their shop, and I kind of wanted to bring up some of the questions that they had, whether it was kind of about, and we'll kind of start with video content. And I think him, like a lot of people, aren't comfortable being on camera. And I think it was one thing that we discovered that I think I wanted to share with people too, is if you attempt to do a live, it has to go at least a minute. And so he was nervous, kind of did like 45 seconds, thought he got some quality quotes and stuff out there, and thought it would just repost. But if it's not over a minute, then it's not going to save it and repost it. So that's just something to think about. But I think just getting comfortable in front of the camera, one, whether it's in a live, and that's, I think for a lot of people, it's the anxiety kind of comes up of what if I mess up talking?
First of all, somebody's uncomfortable with being on camera, I would not recommend a live as being the first.
Oh yeah, that's like the extreme version. And so, but I think that was kind of the thing with him. He kind of wanted to dive into the deep end. And one of the things that I kind of mentioned to him after the fact, that because we went and kind of looked at everything, was that he was getting positive reinforcement back. Like there was nobody coming on there being negative. No. And it's like, and even if there is, it hopefully will create more people coming on to see if that. And I understand that in itself might be uncomfortable of somebody seeing like somebody else kind of badgering you. And that's something to deal with at another step. But it was just, he had some questions about trying to think of different ways to come up with the content. And we've discussed this before in the past, but to me, it was like, hey, especially if you're doing a live, like just set up your camera, start hitting the side window. If you notice that somebody has a question, or like what he had somebody filming, can ask a question like, hey, what tools are you using? Or, and so it kind of gives you an ability to talk to your followers or people that are at least interested in what you're doing. And then maybe it's getting comfortable. And yes, like you said, doing a live is the most extreme version. If you're uncomfortable, it can be one of those things. I've told them in the past, is just set up a stand, do a time lapse, and then save that and put music on it later down the road. So then there's no audio. Nobody hears you talking, saying anything. If you mess up, it's or are even going to see if you mess up doing the window tint. Like if it's a time lapse, you can fix it quick and there's not going to be an issue. So
well, I'll tell you, I mean, I know I've said this on this before. So if I have, I apologize to anybody that's listening that this is repeat, but if you want to know the best way to determine, hey, I want to start doing videos, things like that, what should I do? What content should I post about? In the next 4 days, I'll give you the first 10 pieces of content that you can do a video on. The rest of this week, put a pad of paper by your phone or your front desk, and every time a consumer asks you a question, write it down. And the first 10 pieces of content you can film are you answering the question that you've probably answered 1,000 times this year already. Just answer it on video, because that's telling you that that's information that people want, because people are asking you that question on a repeated basis. It also makes you very comfortable because you've answered that question 1,000 times before. So you're automatically very comfortable in that setting, answering that question, because you already know the information, you already know the answer. So if you want to get started, the very best place to start is just start by shooting a video answering each question that you get on a regular basis. And that's great content, because if you put that on your Facebook page, I guarantee you that a lot of people that are looking at your Facebook page have that same question. And now you're answering the question, providing value for people. But it also is a really easy way for you to sort of step into doing videos, because you know the answer. There's not, so sometimes when people put the camera on and then they get a little bit like, okay, what do I talk about? They get a little bit, but even if you have a third voice off camera, ask like, hey, Ronnie, da 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 da, ask you the question. You could even play that audio so they know you're somebody's asking you the question and you're answering. There's a variety of ways you could do it, but you'll feel really comfortable because, again, my guess is there's probably 5 to 10 questions that you get asked so often that you're tired of answering them. And here's the great thing. That piece of content can be repurposed. If you put that video on YouTube, you can embed that on your website. So on the homepage of your website, you could have a frequently asked question where you have those videos embedded. So you're putting it out on social, you're providing value. You're putting it on YouTube, you're putting it on your website. That's what you should think about. And it's super easy because I guarantee you, even if you're nervous on camera, you can answer those questions because you can answer those questions in your sleep because you've answered them so many times before.
No, and that again, nail on the head. That was one of the things that we had discussed too, was making content out of how many phone calls are you getting where you're kind of repeating yourself or answer, like you said, if you're answering the same questions. And even as you were saying that, I'm sitting there thinking like, that's a piece of content, whether it's you have us set up like, hey, I'm looking for window tint, and you're answering kind of and go through the questions of just like the straight phone call that you get every time. And you want to hopefully eliminate that question out of maybe 20% of the calls you get because they've seen the video and have that answer already in hand. Yep. And I think that was the thing too. If you can start eliminating 3-4 minutes of, not saying that quality conversation isn't what you want, but you're answering questions that the customer is going to have right off the bat. There's
so many ways. Sorry to interrupt. There's so many ways you could use that content. Let's say you have 10 of these videos, piece them together, put them on a loop, and have a TV running in your lobby while people are coming in of you answering the questions. They're about to ask you that question, and now they're getting it answered while they're waiting in line to talk to you or whatever. You recording those 10 videos can be used in so many ways. And I'm telling you, it's easy. It's an easy way to get started. You get 10 videos in, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in front of the camera, and you can start expanding out into what you want to do. But that's an easy way for you to get 10 pieces of content under your belt that can be used in a ton of different ways. And it's going to make you start feeling more comfortable in front of the camera. I would recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, one of the things too that we've kind of touched on, and I think should be a part of that content that I think people, and it's what they had mentioned too, that they weren't thinking about, was showing off the customer experience. If you have a really cool lobby, or you have cool things whether you have video games or cool cars to check out, showcase that stuff, because if one, especially for tint shops, and that's kind of obviously what we're usually discussing, if somebody's dropping off your car and they have a 60-90 minute wait, how are they spending that time? Are they leaving your shop, going away, or are they staying there kind of reading and seeing what other services they might need in the future, and then also having some fun things to do? And so for them, they have this amazing kind of lobby area where people can have an arcade set up, and they've got cars and it's kind of a lounge area. And so if you're able to kind of showcase this, like, hey, come over for the experience versus just coming here for our product or service, again, that's part of the brand experience, kind of showcasing like, hey, these are the things that we have that you can come in, drop your car off, still enjoy your time. You're not thinking about other things because you have things to do. So I think there's finding ways to kind of showcase what the customer is kind of going to go through, and the questions that they might have might be a good way to provide content for you as well.
Yeah. And let's face it. I mean, I would say historically, I've been in the industry a long time. A lot of people that are in, shops that do window tint, paint protection film, whatever the case may be, the shops historically have not been somewhere somebody would really want to spend time, especially if I would say my wife or somebody like that. So if you have a shop that has a great waiting room, maybe some coffee, some snacks, some clean restrooms, definitely highlight that, because I guarantee you that if somebody, we spend time in the industry, we spend time talking to people all the time, but a lot of people, their perception is it's not going to be a place I'm going to want to hang out. I'm going to have somebody pick me up and bring me back later. But if you could showcase them to that, hey, if you set the appointment for 10, we'll probably have you out of there by 12:30 at the latest. We've got a great place for you to hang out. We got free Wi-Fi. We got, some snacks, some water, some coffee, things like that. I think that's definitely something it might sway somebody to come to you versus somebody else, just that alone. But, and then in that lobby, consider having, TVs are cheap now. I mean, 36-inch flat screen TV is $160 or something like that. You could have, something going on a loop of you talk about like, after installation care instructions, things like that, all those different questions you're going to get, you can start like hitting those off at the pass by talking about those things. So if they're in your lobby, they're hearing about that stuff while they're there. So, like I said, I can't recommend enough. Whenever somebody says they don't know what to talk about, I'm like, what are the last 10 questions you were asked by your customers? And I don't care what industry you are in, that rule applies. If you don't know what to talk about, start by answering the last 10 questions you were asked by a customer. It's always a good formula.
No, absolutely. I think that's, hopefully you guys get a little bit of something here and can find some content, and hopefully that kind of pushes you forward and can get things rolling if you aren't doing something already. Otherwise, hopefully you are out there and tweaking your plan. Again, we're going to shift gears, and this one I don't think you were ready for. End of the week, you are headed to Orlando for Tinner Battles.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, what are you excited to see, meet? Who are you meeting? Like what's going on? What are you thinking? What are you looking forward to at the Tinner Battles this week?
Well, I will say this is an answer about any event, whether it's SEMA, Tinner Battles, WFCT. I always am most excited about seeing people I haven't seen in a while, meeting people that I haven't met before. I always am excited to just meet new people and meet people that I've known for a long time. So the thing I'm most excited about is just seeing people I haven't seen for a while. There's a lot of good information being shared down there. I think, my mindset is always continuous education, continuous learning. Whenever I'm having a conversation with people, I like to ask them, even if they're not a client of ours, I like to ask them, hey, what things are working for your company? What things aren't? I'm always trying to learn, because far be it for me to ever think I know everything or I have the lock on all the information. So I'm always asking. And a lot of times I come away with an understanding of something that somebody's working that's going to then stimulate me later to get into doing some research on that and seeing if that's something I could utilize to help my clients as well. So, for me, it's just meeting people, talking to people, and, and then, obviously there's a lot of good information being presented at Tinner Battles. I think I'm going to do a couple podcasts on there because, nice. It's at the Wiz Castle and they actually have a podcast room. So I think I might be doing a couple podcasts, try to pull some people in and do some one-on-ones on site. Cause a lot of times we do these and we don't have the opportunity to be in the same room. So if I have an opportunity to have a quick chat with somebody down there in the podcast room, I might try to do that as well. So it's always good to get together with people. I'm excited about that. And I don't think we've talked since WFCT announced that Gary Vee is going to be at the Window Film Conference. I mean, if you are on the fence about going to WFCT, I'm telling you, you should try to get there. That is going to be a worthwhile thing for you to be at. Ronnie and I are going to be going the month prior to WFCT to VCon in a stadium that holds in LA, Staples Center, that holds like 20,000 people to spend time and hear Gary talk and everything like that. You got a chance to come to WFCT and probably have a couple, 300 to 500, 600 people there with Gary Vee talking. He doesn't talk to groups that intimate that often anymore. And I'm telling you, you're missing out if you don't make plans to go to WFCT to see that event. I think that's just a no-brainer. It'd be the one, it might even be, like I said, if you're in between, hey, I can only go to one or show or the other, I would think that might be something that would push you in favor of WFCT. Also, before we let you go, if you saw the news, and we may be having the other person on this video shortly in the next couple of weeks too, but Ronnie is now officially a partner in iMagnet Management. His company, Run West Media, and 777, which is our Matthew Denham's company, merged with iMagnet. So now not only do Ronnie and I work together on different things, Ronnie's actually a partner in the business. Super excited about that. So you've got 3 companies merging. We're going to operate under the umbrella of iMagnet Management, but it just expands our capability as an agency, expands our bandwidth as an agency, and we're super excited about that. So I didn't want that to fly by the radar with you guys not knowing. Like Ronnie's actually like, a major partner in iMagnet Management now, and I couldn't be happier to have him on the team.
No, I'm thrilled. I think my family we're excited about what iMagnet has brought to us, and so it's and so yeah, it's just we're excited for the future and only seeing things go up and looking forward to helping many more people down the road. We look forward to it. Thank you, David.
Yeah. And on top of that, where you're going to Matthew is not as much of the guy that wants to be in front of the camera. Speaking of people that doesn't want to be in front of the camera, Matthew's not the guy that typically wants to be in front of the camera, but we are going to get Matthew in front of the camera. And also Matthew is going to be at WFCT with us. We're going to have an iMagnet booth at WFCT, and Matthew's going to be there. So again, if Gary V is not enough of a pull, the 3 of us all being at WFCT together ought to definitely bring
signed, sealed, delivered right there, because we're going to be there. No, I think getting Matthew on here, even if we do some pre-recorded segments, I think that'll be beneficial to a lot of people. If you guys have had a website built with us, he kind of thoroughly has gone through and does great work. And so I think him being able to answer some questions on the website in a much more detailed, better answer than either of us can do, I think is essential to the show and the growth of it, to kind of get people more informed. And that's obviously what we want to do.
Excellent. Well, we are up against it, but
yep.
Episode 98 in the can, 2 more episodes and we're going to be at 100. So, stay tuned. I don't know what we're going to do. We haven't even talked about it yet, but we're going to have to do something. 100 episodes is pretty strong.
Yes, indeed. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Take care. All right.